All right, now we're joined by the man that we're 72 on the field and number 32 on the Giants top 100 list. He is Osi Umenyiora, the king of the sack strip. And that's where I want to start first, because I think the lasting image most Giant fans have of you, Osi, is coming in, blindside of a quarterback, getting your hand in there, sometimes not even touching the quarterback, just knocking the ball away.
Yeah.
How'd you do that? I'm going to keep it simple. How?
Well, Coach Mike Waffle was a defensive line coach.
Former Marine, right?
Yeah,
Love Waff.
And he was like, you know what, OC? As opposed to sacking the quarterback, if you knock the ball out, it counts as a sack and a forced fumble. I was like, oh, okay, well, I can go there, I can knock the ball out and get a sack still, force a turnover, and it's still a great play. I said, I might as well go and try and do that. And then what I realized was a lot of times when I'd come around the edge, just out the corner of my eye, I could see him. And, right when the ball was about to come up, I just put my hand out, and I still don't understand how I did it, but, it was really good for the team.
10 in one season, which is still tied for the all-time NFL record.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. But anyway, I got to ask you something entirely different, though, okay? Because, you guys, we called it the NASCAR package, right? And it was you and Stray and Tuck, and you guys had such a rhythm, such an intimidating presence on the field. How much trash talk? I never asked you this. How much trash talk did you guys give to those offensive linemen when they had 3rd and long and they saw you guys coming up to the ball?
You know what, Paul? The truth is the trash talk was really between me, Strahan, and Tuck. The trash talk was amongst ourselves. It really, we didn't have enough time to talk to the offensive linemen because we were talking so much to ourselves. It really was an incredible time. And a lot of times when I think about that period of time, I remember specifically every single day we were so happy to come to work. So excited to come to work, man, just to be able to work and
you're still
practice
smiling.
Yeah, it really was an incredible time, man. And, I wish everybody gets it. I mean, you guys look like you have a good time when you're at work.
Of course.
I think everybody needs to experience that.
How did Tom Coughlin help bring your group together to get you to the point where you could walk away with those Super Bowl rings?
He was an incredible coach, best coach I've ever been around, a motivator, a leader, and we believed in him. He was just a really special person. And, we knew it came from a good place. He wasn't really trying to get anybody or, intimidate people. He just believed in what he believed in. And you just had to, when you see the sincerity and the way he approached things, I think we just fell in love with him as a coach.
I heard Winston Justice was in the area, and he heard that Osi was here, and somehow he hopped a plane from Newark all the way across the continent. That night, the 6 sacks against the Philadelphia Eagles. What you knew that Justice was ripe for picking, I'm sure, from looking at the film going into the week. Could you ever have imagined, though, that you would just consistently beat this poor guy down to the point where he was really helpless?
Yeah, I feel bad for him. I think now across, the United States of America, if you mention Winston Justice's name, that's the first thing people think about, right?
Philadelphia Eagle offensive tackle, by the way.
Yeah. So I think, the interesting thing about that was I only got to the quarterback 7 times total in that game, and 6 of them were sacks. Now, I've been in games where I got to the quarterback 13 times and had no sacks.
Right.
So it just, for whatever reason, every single time I got back there, it just ended up being a sack, man. It was just one of those incredible days, and, I'm happy it came out in our favor.
I have to ask you about Super Bowl 42.
Yep.
You were playing what I still think might be the greatest offense of all time.
Yeah.
You look at all the points they scored that year. Tom Brady, when he was asked during the week about how many points he scored, he gave his little snicker. What did you think about that? And did you guys really, in your heart of hearts, believe that you can go in there and shut that offense down?
Well, not shut them down. I would be lying if I told you we went in there thinking that. I think what gave us the most confidence was the way we played against them the last week of the season.
But they did score a lot of points in that game,
They scored a lot of points in that game, but we didn't play anything. Like, Spags came in, he was like, okay, we're going to run vanilla defense.
No game plan, right?
No game plan. We just went out there. And, when you're going up against the offense, when you're going up against offensive linemen in particular, you kind of get a sense for how they are, and you could feel them. I'm like, hey, these guys are a little soft. This is the best team in football. And in our heads, we're like, if we ever – look at my man, Don. I said, if we ever get an opportunity to play these guys again, we'll really get after them, and thankfully we did.
All right, so now I got to take you back a little bit earlier now. You come out of Troy, okay? and not the biggest football school in the world, right?
Yeah.
And you played nose guard there for a while. Now, explain something to me. Why would anybody want you, one of the greatest edge rushers in franchise history? Why did they have you at nose guard?
Yeah, so coming out of high school, I was a defensive tackle. And then when I got to Troy, I was still at 3 technique, but then we had a nose guard. He was an All-American. And he left, and he went to the NFL. And that guy by the name of Al Lucas, God rest his soul. And so they moved me down to the nose guard, and I was in there for my first year. I was a 3 technique. I was a nose guard for 2 years, and then, like my junior year, the coach just came to me. He was like, "Osi, I'm going to make you some money. I'm going to put you at end."
Good idea.
Those were his exact words. I'll never forget. He was like, "Osi, I'm going to make you some money. I'm going to put you at end." Put me at end. The game took off, and that's how everything happened.
Last one from me. I want to ask you about what you're doing now. You are helping bring this game international.
Yeah.
We're recording this on Friday night. In about an hour, they're kicking off a game in South America. I'm sure if I would have asked you and you were playing, if they were playing a game in Brazil, you'd have been like, get the heck out of here. Now there's half a dozen games in Europe every year. Just talk about how you're seeing this game explode internationally in Europe, where you're located specifically in London.
Yeah, so remember in 2007 we went out there to play a game, and I met a guy by the name of Mark Waller, who's the head of NFL International. And when I saw everything going on, I was like 80,000 people. The game wasn't a good game, but I could still feel the energy. And so a little bit later on, I came back out when I was with the Falcons, and we played again, and the game was still growing. And so I told Mark that when I left the NFL, when I retired from the NFL, I wanted to go work for him internationally. And boy, it has taken off. Like the games, they just keep on growing. So we've been doing some stuff with the NFL in London. I've been doing some stuff with the NFL in Africa. I don't know if you guys have seen some of those things.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
And I believe that the NFL has said that they want to be a global game. Right now, it's mostly concentrated in America and Europe, but they want to be everywhere. And so we have to play these games in different places. And I think it's been an incredible thing for the world to see the game of American football. It really is a great game, and we're going to take it to the next level.
All right. My final question is one I asked one of you years ago, but I wonder if your perspective has changed.
Okay.
You come to the Giants, heard of your Corsi's having conversations with San Diego at the time about maybe making a deal for Eli Manning.
Yeah.
And we talked about this earlier in your career. They wanted Osi Umenyiora in the trade to go get Eli. Yeah. And Ernie said, no, you're not getting Osi Umenyiora, and wound up trading a bunch of draft picks and Philip Rivers and stuff. As you sit here today, how do you think your career would have been different had the Giants traded you and had you not wound up having the stellar career you had here?
Completely different. And I think about things like that all the time, because I wonder how many players went to one situation and turned out great, and they went to another situation and didn't turn out so good simply because of the situation. I don't know if Mike is here, Strahan, but, just being around him, I learned the game of football really from him. And if I would have went somewhere else, so many of the things that I learned, how to be a professional, how to watch tape, how to take care of your body, how to do all those things that make you a great player, I wouldn't have known how to do them. And so many people go to different situations, they don't learn those things. And then all the other defensive linemen who we had, who really, really made me who I was. And so I know for a fact that if I wasn't around those people and with this organization, I wouldn't have been half the player that I was. And it's just luck. It's just down to sheer luck, and I'm just so happy to have been a part of it.
And the blood's still blue.
It's still blue for sure.
One of the best player development stories, I think, of all time. Out of Troy, not a first-round pick, but turned out to be one of the greatest players in Giants history. Osi, thanks so much for the time, man. This is great.
So much, man.
Have a fantastic weekend.
Yes,
Osi Umenyiora, everybody. The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. From game day celebrations to your everyday financial needs, Big Blue fans can get the most out of every moment with Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants.
Huddle up, get in here. If you're lined up here, you gotta go over the middle with it to score.
Right. How do we make that happen?
I don't know.
But Citizens does.
Make sense of your money with Citizens, official bank of Eli Manning.
And now we welcome in the Hammer. Keith Hamilton, one of the fiercest defensive linemen in the history of the Giants franchise, number 68 on the Giants 100. Hammer, what's going on, man? It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Good to be seen.
Are you having fun tonight?
Yes. Just got here, so I haven't seen some of the guys, but this is my guy right here. So, if he asked me to come do an interview, I'm going to be right here.
Well, I got a question. Did he ever give you a hard time in the locker room after the game where you wanted to maybe slam into a locker or something like that?
Never.
Really? That's surprising, to be honest with you.
He was so, it was just like he was a regular guy, and I was a regular guy. That's what I considered myself. When he came to talk to me, it was just like, good friends, chopping it up.
I tried, Paul. I failed, though.
No, hey, I get you.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't remember, because early in his career when he came out of Pitt, he was a defensive end. And I just was like, wow, this guy's really, really good. And then they made you a defensive tackle.
Right.
And now it was in the trenches where all the dirty work is.
Right.
And yet somehow you excelled at that job too, despite all the beating that goes on in the trenches. How in the world did you do that for so long?
That's a good question. That's a great question. I know that, like, my third year, I had, my rookie year had like 3 sacks. And then my second year.
Double digits.
I had like 11 and a half sacks. And then they just said, you're going down inside. And I was like, that's a big change from being out on the end where you just floating around, dancing with the tight end or a tackle. You know what I mean? Because you got 2 or 3 people coming at you at all time. So it was a big adjustment. But about maybe my 4th or 5th year, I got the hang of it. And then you're not running from here to the end of this table inside. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen.
So, Keith, what would you consider the greatest game you ever played as a Giant?
I
didn't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Yeah, I had a couple sacks. But if I look back on the game, we lost the game, but it was a Super Bowl. Yeah.
Why do you choose that game? I'm curious.
I choose it because when I look back at the game, I had like 15 tackles, 6 or 7 hits on the quarterback, and we had that call, which was a horrible call, but you gotta live with that and accept it. But
right. They can't fine you anymore for saying it, so it's okay.
Yeah. And
defensive holding, it was not there. Terrible
right.
call.
I think you could jam a guy 5 yards off the
Absolutely.
line of scrimmage. So what? I got a quarterback 10 yards in the backfield. I can't touch. I just can't pull him, tag him. That was a big momentum changer right
Armstead had run back a pick 6, and they flagged it back. And
yeah.
I think had that play gone into the books like it should have, it could have been a much different game.
Oh, absolutely. After that, it was a couple plays that I remember back. You know what I mean? It was, but my total game, it was. I've had games that had 2 or 3 sacks in a game or something like that. But I didn't think that it was the Super Bowl.
But you know what, Hammer? That game against the Ravens, I get it. The team didn't win it, but just before that, you crushed the Vikings, who had one of the most explosive offenses in the history of the NFL.
Right.
41-0.
Yeah, how'd you do that?
That was a dome team. They weren't ready to come in here in that cold.
They sure weren't.
They won't build like that. But second, third quarter, they was ready to go home. You could tell when you playing a guy, you get him down here in this cold, it's whipping around, and you look at him eye to eye, you could tell, well, he ready to go home, and they were ready to go home about the second, third quarter. Yeah.
The Giants Huddle podcast is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. Citizens will donate $750 to the Giants Foundation for each scoring drive during the 2024 season. Learn more at citizensbank.com/Giants.
If you want to know how to manage 2 minutes of crunch time football, I'm your man. But if you're wondering about a long-term financial plan, you should talk to Citizens. Hey, I can also talk lawn care.
I'd like to learn about a mowing routine.
Yes, I knew I could help. Make sense of your money with Citizens.
Now, I'll tell you something. Brian Dable and his guys talked today about dogs, right, John? DAWGS.
Yeah.
You guys had dogs yourself, Jesse Armstead, Mike Barrow.
Yeah.
You guys had some dogs.
Strahan was a dog, too.
All right, so tell me, in your mind, what defined the dogs on that team and what made them excel and help you guys get to a Super Bowl?
We had a core group. Like, it was me, Jesse, and Strahan. But we had other good players, too. But I remember playing games in Phoenix, Arizona. We go 105 plays. We would play 105 plays. And he would look at me, and I would look at him. And we never took, how they switch people now. They got to rotate them in for run, rotate them for pass. Me and Strahan never came out the game. unless we was hurt. And that Strahan was a dog too. You know, he talks the, good, professional talk, but he was a dog. Yeah, you get him mad. He just might bite you with a smile. I can tell you that. He was a tough man.
You mentioned, and then you mentioned Jesse Armstead too. Why don't you tell us what made him special as the leader at the linebacker position?
Because he knew what made him special was that he knew what everybody was doing behind him. He said, Hammer, you keep it straight up here up front. I got everything. I said, Jesse, you got to take care of the back. And he knew where everybody was supposed to be. And that's what he was a dog. He had a dog side to him, but he was smart. He was never out of place. I don't remember him being out of place one time. And he knew that whatever the defense was, he knew where everybody was supposed to be. And, they started catching balls. I said, come on, Jay. I got it up here. You take care of it up, back here. Mm-hmm. And he got, we had some dogs on that defense.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we did.
And you played on the grass trays of mud.
Yeah. But,
the old Giant Stadium.
Yeah, you get that ain't no big deal. When you love what you're doing.
People keep saying they want to bring a grass field back, but John Mara always says we tried it and it didn't work out so well.
Right.
You guys didn't like that stuff.
Nah, man. But you had a lot of people, losing knees playing on that concrete too.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
And that was concrete, by the way. It was just basically turf over concrete. That's all it was.
That's exactly what it was. About this much. Right. So you felt it when you got hit, but we enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my 12 years here, and I'm just waiting to see some more guys and talk to them.
Yeah, and Keith, we'll let you go. I wanted to ask you one last question.
Yes.
What did it mean to you to be made number 68?
Man, it really made me feel real good. Everybody wants to be acknowledged. I don't care who you are and what you do. You want to be acknowledged for what you did, and like we were talking before, numbers are just numbers, because I know what I did, and can't nobody take that away from me.
Absolutely not. Yeah. My final question is kind of a simple one, but I suspect it may mean more to you than maybe even others. Mm-hmm. When you played the better part of a decade in the league and you only played for one team, I don't know how many guys on the top 100, John, because I didn't count it.
I didn't count them either.
Are only lifetime Giants.
Right.
You never put on another helmet. How much does that mean to you to have been a lifetime Giant?
It means a lot to me because they were loyal to me, but I was loyal to them, and it was games I shouldn't have played.
I know.
I played through. I played through a lot of stuff, and I think they knew what I was capable of doing, and they just let me play.
One year, this guy had 10 sacks as a defensive tackle. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that was Super Bowl year. Yeah.
I know.
Good one.
Hammer, great stuff. Thanks so much. Enjoy the weekend, my friend.
Good to see you.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you, buddy.
Appreciate it.